You are now watching an Urbanist production.
Toronto, Canada's largest city, an economic heavyweight, a symbol of diversity and multiculturalism, a melting pot of immigration, a global city with global ambitions, a world financial hub. Whatever the city of Toronto means to you, whatever titles you prefer to associate the city with, one thing is certain. Toronto is expensive. More specifically, its real estate is wallet draining, jaw dropping, won't have any money left for Tinder premium, empty bank account syndrome inducing, expensive. Don't believe me? This house was purchased for a whopping $1 million. So now we know how expensive Toronto truly is, but how did it get this way? Before we begin, I would greatly appreciate it if you hit that like button. It helps the YouTube algorithm and allows us to show this video to a wider audience. Now let's begin. In order to figure out how Toronto's real estate prices got so expensive, we have to first understand the economics behind real estate prices. To put it simply, real estate prices are a matter of supply and demand. As the demand for a certain good, in this case real estate, rises, and the supply of this good is unable to keep up, then the prices go up. So in the case of real estate, demand for real estate goes up and the supply is unable to keep pace. Therefore, in a market with high real estate prices, it usually means that there's a lot of demand for real estate and insufficient supply of real estate for sale. So now that we know how the fundamentals of real estate prices work, we can dive deeper and analyze how Toronto's real estate got so expensive. Let's first do this by analyzing the demand side. Toronto is an incredibly attractive city. It consistently tops the rankings of most livable cities in the world. It is the largest city in a country rich with natural resources and a member of the G7. It is poised to become the next tech capital in North America and is a hub destination for immigrants from all over the world. It is also the only Canadian city with a population over 3 million. In fact, there are over 9.5 million people in the Greater Golden Horseshoe, which is an urban region surrounding the city of Toronto. Therefore, if you're looking to jumpstart your career, live in the big city, and seek out the best opportunities, Toronto is going to be your destination. With all these attractive qualities, it's no doubt that there is strong demand for this city. But what's most mind-boggling is just how much demand there is. Believe it or not, Toronto is actually the fastest growing city in all of North America. It is growing so fast, it's a city bursting at the seams. The city of Toronto alone, excluding its metropolitan area, added almost 150,000 new residents last year. And this is not an outlier for the city. Toronto consistently ranks as the fastest growing city year over year and is projected to grow even faster in the coming decade. But where are all these people coming from? Immigration. Canada is a nation that embraces immigration, and the country accepts hundreds of thousands of new immigrants every single year. However, despite the country's massive landmass, the majority of immigrants decide to settle in Toronto due to its attractive nature of embracing diversity and the large offerings of job opportunities available. But the true culprit of Toronto's real estate prices is actually on the supply side. You see, high demand for a city isn't inherently a bad thing. In fact, it can be a testimony of a city's attractiveness and its success. Immigration in particular has been a blessing for Canada, bringing in culinary delights from across the world and allowing an aging country to increase its workforce and bring young talent into the job market. The high levels of immigration are good for Toronto and is good for Canada. This is why it's important to focus on the supply side of the real estate crisis. Toronto's real estate prices are so high because there's not enough supply to meet the demand. This can be attributed to three reasons: the Greenbelt, strict zoning laws, and red tape. The Greenbelt is a protected area of farmland surrounding the city of Toronto. Development is prohibited here, as the goal of the Greenbelt is to protect valuable farmland and discourage urban sprawl. This creates an island effect, decreasing the supply of land available for development. This means that land becomes a scarcity. This is partly why Manhattan is so expensive. It's an island, therefore the amount of land for development is constrained, causing prices to go up. Toronto may not be surrounded by water, but the Greenbelt acts as an artificial body of water, turning Toronto's land into an island. Landowners know this. They know that there is only a finite amount of land left in the Toronto area to build on, and so they sell the land at a premium to developers, who then pass the cost onto us as consumers. This island effect is further compounded by the city's strict zoning laws. Although we see many new skyscrapers coming to Toronto, the city's zoning laws actually discourage these essential high-density housing units from being built. This is a map of Toronto's zoning laws. You notice all that yellow? Those are designated as neighborhood areas, and high-density housing is prohibited. In 70% of these neighborhood zones, only single detached housing is permitted. This greatly reduces the amount of land left for developers to build high-density residential buildings, which are essential to providing enough housing supply to meet the demand for real estate in the city. The third reason for a lack of supply is just red tape and plain bureaucracy. Look, I don't mean to knock on our city council. They're hardworking people and they provide much needed regulation that helps our cities to be more livable and puts greedy developers in check. But sometimes there can be too much regulation, especially when getting housing supply onto the market quickly is essential. Buildings often take years and years of debate, revisions, approval delays before the developers can even begin construction. This makes building in the city expensive as the developers pass this cost onto us as consumers. So now that we know why Toronto real estate is so expensive, what is the solution here? What can we do to bring down the cost of real estate? Well, it's not a smart decision to try and solve a housing crisis by limiting the demand side of the equation. Demand is important, and more people moving to the city is essential to its continued growth. Moreover, immigration is essential to Canada's economic growth. Canada's population is aging, and new immigrants provide a much-needed boost to the Canadian economy and workforce. A better solution is to tackle the supply side of the equation. But this can be tricky too. The Greenbelt protects valuable farmland and discourages urban sprawl. These are good things. Canada is mostly unfarmable tundra, and the vast arable land around Toronto is incredibly important in its purpose as Canada's breadbasket. Whatever produce you can't grow in the rest of Canada, you can probably grow in the Greenbelt. Not to mention, decreasing urban sprawl is a good thing as well. Urban sprawl is expensive, both financially and environmentally. Encouraging urban density helps municipalities to keep service costs down while protecting the environment at the same time. The most ideal solution is a revision of Toronto's zoning laws. Instead of permitting only single residential housing, Toronto should focus on providing the missing middle. What is the missing middle? Well, think of it as the in-betweens on housing. Not as dense as a tall skyscraper, but not as sprawling as a single detached residential is either. Think low-rise apartments and townhouses. The Toronto City Council seems to recognize this, as evidenced by this article. However, their efforts fall short. It's too little, too late. In order for Toronto to truly solve its housing crisis, it must revamp zoning laws to allow for the missing middle housing to be built across the city. This has already been done in Minneapolis, where in 2018, the city council voted almost unanimously to scrap single residential zoning altogether. If Toronto is to truly combat its insane real estate prices, It must revamp residential laws to meet the needs of a growing city, as well as cut back on some of the red tape that prohibits developers to build efficiently. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it insightful. I would love to hear about your opinions in the comments below. I know this can be a controversial topic, so let's try to keep it respectful in the comment section. And for more content on cities, new developments, and infrastructure, please subscribe. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the like button, as it helps the YouTube algorithm to share this video with more people just like you. Thank you for subscribing and liking, and we will see you next video.